I was just raised around a lot of women because I get into these arguments with a lot of my friends who were raised a lot of male. Like we're constantly at odds, right? In our conversations, in our arguments, right? And the biggest thing they love to throw at me, well, you didn't have a father. And I'm like, it's not a bad thing. Like I had male, like I grew up in the Amazon. Right, I mean not the Amazon, but like you know what I mean, like the women Amazon, like I grew up in Woman King or something, like there were no men there at all. Like I had no coaches or no male influences in my whole life. You know what I mean? I'm like I had plenty of male role models and influences and friends. Being raised around a lot of women is I think I'm just a bit closer to the plight. And I just have a bit more understanding maybe than most men. Maybe that's why they miss, because they're trying to have the understanding, but you only know what you know. I'm able to just channel into that, I think, and tap into that a little deeper than some men can. Where they see it as a weakness. To me, I'm like, it's a superpower.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Inside Out Podcast Season 2. I'm your host, Yha Mourhia Wright. The intention of this podcast is to enrich your life with behind-the-scenes interviews and conversations from thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives about how they live their lives from the inside out. Enjoy.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Inside Out Podcast. I'm your host, Yha Mourhia Wright. On this episode 203, we have Armie Hicks Jr., who's across right here, mimicking me. After graduating from high school, Armie enrolled at NCANT University, intent on a career in computing. However, he caught the acting bug while appearing in student drama productions and minoring in film studies. Soon after landing a role on the Emmy Award-winning TV series Atlanta, he moved to Los Angeles to pursue his dreams. His filmmaking work is steeped in activism, and his cinematic style combines rhythm, image, and social critique with digital innovation to challenge traditional narrative structures. His films incite social justice and provoke reflection on the state of African American realities. Y'all, welcome Armie Hicks. What's up?
What up, though? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. You're my second guest.
Okay,
number 2.
Podcast
for season 2.
I love it.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
We're doing it.
I'm here.
So, I'm going to start with computing. Like, how? Why?
So, look, that's a funny story. So, when I was in high school, my senior year, my teacher literally walked by with a sheet of paper and it had majors and like their starting salaries, right? So like teachers made like 30,000. I think it was like the next highest was like maybe like lawyers at 60,000. And way at the top, it was like IT 90,000. So I'm looking around like, yo, everybody, y'all not all you're not all checking this one like you crazy. Like nobody was like, nah, we're not going to computers. I was like, shoot, I'm going after this bread.
Okay, I got you. And so when you went to school, did you even take any classes in alignment with your major, or were you just like kind of taking the
like
arts?
I completely shut the arts out of my life, my entire life. Like I always wanted to do it, but I never had A, confidence, or B, like any even trajectory on how, what. I never knew any, I never went to any theater productions. I didn't know any people that like, I just knew nothing. So like to me, going and getting a regular job, being the first person to graduate from my family from college, like that was the path, and that was the path I was on. So when I first started school, of course, I'm into it. I made Dean's List. Like I'm high into it. But there was this moment where after I transferred from A&T, I went to UNC Charlotte, and I was in the School of Technology, and we're the only school that had 24-hour access to our labs. And I remember you do classes like Tuesday, Thursdays, Monday, Wednesdays, and I went to class on a Tuesday. And I remember sitting next to the guy next to me, and we're like typing on the computer, we're coding, and like I stayed till like 2 a.m. And I was like, this is crazy. I can't keep doing this. Like, and I get back on Thursday. You know that boy was still there?
What?
In the same clothes?
Was that when you knew it wasn't for
That's
you?
when I was like, oh, this is crazy. This is the level of commitment that it takes. Nah, I ain't got it, Chief. So that's when I started thinking about like my life for real, and I really felt like I was having like a early life crisis. You know what I mean? Like, what is this really what I'm gonna be doing? Like 40 hours a week, like working the same thing, like coding, sitting at a computer, hurting my back. And I met this teacher, Mr. Stringfellow. Shout out to Rodney Stringfellow. I believe he's still teaching at UNC Charlotte, but black male who was a writer, written for several Nickelodeon shows, and basically they were filming this local access television show, and I just saw them, and I was like, "Yo, this is kind of cool. Like, you guys this is film equipment. Like, what's up?" Just started talking to him. He was like, "No, I teach some classes here, screenwriting and such." So, signed up for those classes, and completely stopped taking classes in computing.
Wow.
And I just took all film classes, and then I dropped out.
Okay.
So that was like, I had like a mini film school, like for like a semester and a half.
I remember you saying during our pre-interview, and you kind of alluded to it right now, you had this quarter life crisis. What was this quarter life crisis?
So basically, going to the lab, seeing the commitment that those people have, not really making friends with the people that were in my major, you know what I mean? Because like I was the cool kid, you know what I mean? And like, there's nothing wrong with being like a very nerdy kid, but like these kids were super like focused, and we just didn't have, I didn't have anyone to hang with. And I was also working at this internship where I was working 32 hours a week and not getting paid.
Wow.
At this computer lab, with just people who I just like, just had nothing in common with, and all of these things started to happen, you know what I mean? And I was just like, this can't be my life. This cannot be my life. And I always loved movies my entire life. I would always act them out. I knew them front to back by heart. And, those feelings of wanting to do those things just started to creep back in. You know what I mean? And I'm the type of person where I don't like having regret. You know what I mean? Like, I'm big on not regretting anything that I do in life. So I was like, man, I don't want to look back on my life and be like, I wish I would have tried it. I wish I would have, spoke up. I wish I would have, when I saw that film crew, I wish I would have said something, you know what I mean? So I did. I decided to. And that's how it kind of led me to this journey of meeting people in Charlotte, North Carolina that were aligned in the film industry. And I realized that at the time, we were like where Georgia is now. At that time, this was what North Carolina was.
Wow.
So like Iron Man 3 had just shot there. Hunger Games had just shot there. Like a lot of films were shooting in North Carolina, in and around the area. So like there were a lot of film people. So I quickly was invited into like kind of those spaces and started making these short films. And I got an acting coach who was like a guru to me. I studied with this guy for 3 years. He really taught me, JD Lewis really taught me a lot about.
Shout out to JD Lewis.
Shout out to JD Lewis. The Actors Lab, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Pat Dortch.
Pat. So, I don't know y'all, but shout out.
So, that really changed how I viewed the craft, and it started becoming a craft to me. And I really started understanding and learning what it meant to be a creative and be an artist. But I was in a small market.
Yeah.
You're in North Carolina, so you're just getting scraps. You're just getting, you know what I mean? A lot of people from those areas, like they might get a guest star one time, or, you know what I mean? Or be extremely special to maybe make it, you know what I mean? But like those people were very rare. So I always knew in the back of my mind that LA was where I needed to go.
I love that. And what made, you spoke about when we've talked about, your family and the foundation of family. How was that? Did you have that support that you needed? Were people like, you're doing what? How?
Oh, no. My family were like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean you want to be like, no. Like, I remember there was one point when I was taking these film classes, and I remember I called I'm not going to say which aunt, and I hope you don't remember this, but I definitely do. But this when I like dropped out, and I was like struggling to like figure out how I was gonna pay for acting classes, and trying to shoot these short films and stuff. And I called my mom. My mom didn't have any money. My mom has 7 sisters. She's like, yo, call one of your aunts. So I called my aunts, and I was like, yo, auntie, like I'm starving. Like, can you, hopefully send me a couple dollars? And she said, oh, college graduates aren't hungry. College dropouts are hungry. You should have finished. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like that. Like I was on my own. You know what I mean? Like I kind of had to just fend for myself and figure it out on my own, because they had, and I don't fault them. They just hadn't seen it before. How can you, you know what I mean? To them, it's uncharted. They were like, you know, you were the first one to be supposed to finish college. Like, what?
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, like why wouldn't you? And like, we don't know what to tell you now. We don't know what, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was.
I mean, that's major. I would, you know, even in my family, I had support, but it was very much so like the hopes that I was gonna go to law school because I was originally a poli-sci major for undergrad, and like the idea of me like pursuing theater. For real, like, what do you do with that? And aren't they always like struggling? And like, why are you signing up for that? Right. You know what I mean? Especially when we've worked so hard to get out. Yeah, like, why are you doing it? Like, what do you need? What is missing? You know? Right? But I am curious before we get, you know, deeper into your work on what did you ever hit a rock bottom in terms of your career out here? And what was that like? How did you get out of it?
In Los Angeles?
In Los Angeles, California, yeah.
I feel like I've hit several rock bottoms.
Okay.
Like I feel like, you know, I've hit peaks and valleys and highs and lows. And, you know, even in North Carolina, before I even moved out here, like there were times where I was just like, yo, I don't know how I'm going to make rent this month. And I remember going on this retreat with all these really weird artists. Well, not weird because I love these guys, but
it was
to
like
me,
a theater retreat?
Yeah, at the time it was really weird to me because we were going out into the mountains to stay like in these like cottages out with no Wi-Fi, no running water, no anything. And I remember they were like we were taking a tour and they were showing everyone where their cabins were going to be. And we're walking by a stream and there was like this little, like, I can't even, like as big as this couch, there's a little opening in the cave and there was a little like pallet on it built. And they're like, Armie, that's your cot. And I was like, oh, no way. Like right here on the stream. And they're like, yeah, and this is where you bathe in the morning. So if you're going to see people in the morning, you know, they're going to be washing their butt and whatever. And then there was this little outhouse in the back and you just put leaves over it and we'll dump it at the end of the night type stuff. And I was just like, oh, this is crazy.
What drew you to that experience?
So like I said, like, I really imbued myself in the world of creatives. Like when I go into something, I don't know if it's because I'm Capricorn or what, but like I really dive deep and I go deep into whatever I'm doing. So like I was like, nah, I'm in it. Like if I'm gonna be a creative, I'm gonna be a creative.
This is what we're doing. Okay.
This is what we're doing. So it was me and two other black people. We're all looking at each other like, yo, what is going on? But we like, yo, we here. So we all had to have naughty names. All right, I don't know the rating level of this show.
I mean, you're good. This is grown folks.
Okay. All right. So,
but I'm just curious as to why y'all had to have naughty names.
I don't. Still to this day, I don't know why.
Okay, go ahead. Well, are you going to share your naughty name?
My name was Mr. Fister.
I don't know. Oh wow.
Yeah, Mr. Fister. Yeah, that was.
And you made that up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
some names were given, some were made up.
And y'all, how long was this trip?
For 3 days.
For 3 days, and y'all just called each other the naughty names.
And we called each other naughty names, and we had to sing naughty songs to create. We're like, we got into teams, and the team that had the best song got like Wi-Fi for 30 minutes or something like that, like craziness, right? So me and my team, we came up with this song to the tune of My Girl.
Okay.
But it was called Poo-Tang.
Okay.
So it was like Poo-Tang, Poo-Tang, Poo-Tang.
Because we had to make naughty songs.
About Poo-Tang.
Was this like?
No.
All genders? It was just men?
No, it was all genders.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm saying all this to say that I met this person there.
The square in me is like, what?
I met this person there who he was on The Voice. He's a tremendous singer. And he told me about some friends of his that were hiring bartenders back when we got back. It was like, because I know I didn't have a job. I was struggling. I didn't really know what I was going to do. This was like one of my first rock bottoms for real. I'm calling auntie for money. And he was like, yo, you should go holler at them to get this job as the bartender. So I'm like, cool. So I get back. I go into their clothes. I go into their space. And I'm like, yo, just want to chop it up with you guys and see if I can apply for a bartender. And they were like, do you have any experience? I said, no. They said, okay, we can be a bar back. I was like, what is that? And they were like, do the bitch work for the bartender. I said, oh, I'm sorry, I don't do any bitch work. I'm sorry, I got too much pride. I was like, nah, I'm good.
You didn't even know what you was doing. And you was still good. You was
still too good for it.
I can't. But you was just in the woods in a cot in a cave
for creative shit. You know what I mean? That was fulfilling something. Right? So I'm about to leave, and the lady, she says, has anyone ever told you like Usher? And I was like, yeah, I get it a lot. And she was like, wait. So she goes in the back. She gets her husband. She gets like 2 other people. Like, they all run out. She's like, hey, does this guy look like Usher? I'm like, what is it? I'm like, right. I'm like, I came here for a job. Now she was like, can you sing? I was like, no, not particularly. She's like, can you dance? I was like, no, not really. And she's like, no, I know you can't. You got to, right? Like, they're white. Okay. And they're like, no, you're black. I'm like, this is crazy.
Usher impersonator? Is this the
right? So I was like, oh, so I got you. I'm going to sing Poo-Tang. Since y'all want to be funny, I'm going to be funny too. So I started singing it, right? And they're busting out, dying, laughing. So the husband comes to me and he's like, yo, like, I've had this idea where I wanted to build like this entertainment type hub in Charlotte. Like, the bar that they had was like a beer gardens for like college kids. Like, they're just getting trashed, wasted. They don't care what they're drinking. Like, the margins are small. You know what I mean? It's like just nonsense. He was like, I want like an adult. I want to put like our arcade in there. I want to have like, he had these big dreams. He was like, I want like an entertainment space, but I don't know what to do with it. He was like, what do you think? I was like, you should put like a stage and have like, like open mics or something. Like, people come in there and they can just do their creative shit, because we don't have a lot of that in the city. He was like, we're going to do it. So we came up with this idea of like interactive acting / karaoke, right? And he built it in like 4 months. This thing had a pizza parlor.
He
had
had
a
the money for this.
Oh yeah, speakeasy was in there. A ballroom, like Dancing with the Stars type ballroom. You pulled a freaking closet, a book off the shelf, a record player room, and speakeasy room was back there, and like, it was amazing. And we had this karaoke room that we built. We put the sound, the mics, and it kind of started slow. Like, we had outfits and stuff, and eventually I kind of got out of the acting style of it, and I just made it just straight karaoke. And I started charging people to sing, you know what I mean? And I made a lot of money.
Wow. All because you look like Usher.
No. Yes. And because I was performing.
Of course.
So I didn't realize that how much that this was feeding this was like my first kind of like break, like my first thing. Like, I didn't realize every night I'm up on stage in front of people singing my heart out and dancing, and I was finding that entertainer in me. So that's, you asked the question. This is a long-winded, long way of story saying how these are ways that I get out of my rock bottoms. I just God or luck or just things that keep leading me down this creative path. And that's how I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
I have to say though, what I hear, I mean, that's a great story. That's a phenomenal story. It's
I have
wild.
So many of those.
And also how that all came together, like the retreat, which is what it was, the creative retreat, that was like wild and random. But like the song and finding that creativity there you were able to like bring that in. And also like you did something that I feel like, speaking even as a Black woman, like you didn't allow, which is, I don't know what to say about it, but it is a testimony. You didn't allow defenses of like, you look like Usher. Oh, I just, I mean, you kind of do favor Usher though, but you know that. But I mean, like, but you didn't let the like, oh, perform, do this. Like, you like leaned into it, and then a whole entire opportunity opened up. It really makes me wonder, Armie, how many opportunities people miss because of even our own trauma or just even, imposter syndrome. It makes me wonder how many opportunities, because that could have gone a totally different way.
Went so
easily. And that would have been justifiable. People be like, yeah, that's right. You check them. You're not gonna shuck and jive. Like, honestly, it could have gone any kind of other way, but you leaned into it
and turned it into an opportunity.
And you literally created an opportunity.
And I live by things like that. That's what I now, don't get me wrong. I would absolutely check someone.
Yeah, I got you.
But like, I try to see bigger pictures of, you know what I mean? Like, there's something bigger than me going on. There's things that's happening, conspiring, that like, we can't let little pettiness sometimes get in the way of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you another story. This one's just as wild. So I came to LA. Before I moved to LA, I visited LA.
Okay.
And I'd always wanted to come because I always wanted to live here. It was my MacBook screensaver. I'll never forget, it was a Hollywood sign. And this is crazy because just the other day, I was walking my dog because I live in Hollywood. And I looked up and I was like, oh, this is the picture from my MacBook.
Wow.
I was just sitting there. I was like, this is like the same angle, like almost the same angle. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. But anyway, let me get back to the story. So I came out here and I wanted my friends to come with me and stuff, and a lot of them were broke at the time. They couldn't come. So one of my homeboys came. He flew out here from Denver. He visited me for a couple of days, and he introduced me to a friend of mine. A friend of his, while he was here, he was like, "Yo, y'all should link." So I was like, "All right, cool." So chop it up with Brody. He's like, "Yo, we're gonna go to a party." I'm like, "Hell yeah, about time!" Like, I'm ready to turn up. Like, so you know, I'm getting ready. I'm throwing on turn up stuff. I'm getting ready to go to turn up, and it was like a old folks like dinner.
Okay.
And I was just like, I'm looking at, I got my little henny in the pocket and stuff. Like, I didn't, you know what I mean? Hit a little, I'm like, bro, I'm ready. I'm like, I got to be on my best behavior now. There's a bunch of like old black women in here. You know what I mean? They asking me questions.
Aunties?
It was aunties. And I'm like, man.
Yo.
So look, this is what's crazy. So, you know, we just doing the whole thing and talking. And eventually I started talking to one of the ladies. And she was just like asking questions about, you know, about life. She probably felt I was still in that quarter life crisis, right? I could tell she felt it because the way she started pressing me, like, you know, like what's bothering, what's on your mind? What do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? And it was one of the first times I ever said in my life, like, I want to be an actor. Like, I want to be living in LA, like doing this stuff. And she was like, well, why don't you do it? I was like, I can't. Like, you know, never lived away from my mom before. You know, I got stuff going on. Like, I never acted before. I didn't have any experience at this time. I didn't have anything. And basically, we went through this long period of basically she was trying to tell me about manifestation and like the power of speaking things. And I was just like, oh my God, please. Like, I've heard this. I don't want to, you know.
You were already doing it, lo and behold.
But I was already doing it, right? So basically, I remember the Golden Globes were on and her daughter was actually on the carpet of the Golden Globes. And she was like, yo, Armie, make a promise and say to me right now that you'll be living here on this day next year, like January 6th, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, you know what I mean? Rolling my eyes, like, I'll be, you know what I mean? Just like, whatever. And she left me alone. And that was it. Like, she kind of just was like, you can do it. You say it, you speak it, it will happen. So I fly back to North Carolina and I go on this retreat. I get the
retreat was after that.
Yeah. All this stuff happened after this. I get an agent, which is another crazy story. I literally just walked in my agent's house. Walked in her house one day. The door was open. I just walked in and I told her that I wasn't leaving until she gave me a meeting. And she did. I swear to God.
Did you know where she lived?
So she had a house office. Like her house was her office. Okay. It was one of those things.
Like, okay.
But it was like, it's her home. So it's still like
home,
by appointment only. Like you still just don't. So when I came to the door, she was like, do you have an appointment? Like, who are you? And I'm like, I came to speak to you. She's like, do you have an appointment? And I'm like, no. She's like, oh, don't work like that. And I was like, I'm not leaving until you hear me out type shit. So, and I ended up signing with her and ended up just started booking acting jobs. And I remember this when Atlanta came out and I really wanted to be on Atlanta because I loved Donald Glover. I loved it so much that I drove to Atlanta to be an extra. So you can actually see me in the second episode in the background of a couple of scenes. Okay. I was an extra. So I'm down in Atlanta doing this and I got an audition as a speaking character. And I remember I did it at a friend's house and I get back to North Carolina and I'm trying to buy a bicycles. I was trying to get my health back in order. And I remember I was at the cashier and the bike that could fit me and it was the one I wanted was like $800. But the one that I could afford was like $300. So I'm trying to like, fuck, I really want this $800 bike. Like, how can I try to finagle this? Like sales, discounts, whatever. And my agent is calling me. She's like blowing my phone up. And I'm like, what do you want? Because I had never, you know what I mean? Like, I don't answer when she called because I'm like, I'm not booking anything. You know what I mean? So I answered and she was like, yo, you got Atlanta. And I was like, oh, I booked it? She was like, yeah. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to get this $800 bike.
Okay. Wow. What do you think it is though? Like, I mean, obviously you're visualizing because you're a laptop screensaver, right? Or your computer screensaver. But what is it? Do you know, are you kind of like, I'm not sure how these things happen, or have you really tapped in to what you're doing in order to bring those opportunities your way, to kind of call those opportunities in?
I believe it's God. I believe it's God. I believe that He's blessed me by giving me the tools, right? And it's up to me to then match that destiny or to match the plan, right? So sometimes I'm faced with decisions or faced with crises and stuff, and I'm like, I could either go this way, and this is maybe the easier way or the safer choice or the choice to give up, or I could face this thing, or I could do the harder thing, or I could take the risk. More often than not, I'm going to opt to take the risk and do the scary thing, do the thing that everyone's telling me, Armie, you are crazy to do. Like, you can't do that. You can't move to Los Angeles. You can't drop out of college. You can't do these things. I said, okay, well, God got me. And I lean into those things, and more often than not, they tend to work in my favor. Right? So to bring this full circle, when I had the karaoke gig, right, it's one of the biggest nights, Saturday nights in Charlotte. Okay. You want to be in the karaoke spot. People were coming to see me. Like Cam Newton, Dwayne Wade was in it. Like,
wow, what were you doing at the karaoke spot?
I was just the host. I was hosting, but I was performing, and I was playing like the way I was DJing the songs too. Like, I was a little snobbish. Like, if I knew people were like terrible singers or just, I would put them at the bottom. We probably never get to their song.
So you were curating.
I was curating it. Yeah, I was curating it.
Curated karaoke night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So out of nowhere, I was just like, you know what? I'm about to leave. And people were like, yo, my best friend's like, what are you doing? I was like, I think I'm gonna quit. I was like, do what? I think I'm gonna move to Los Angeles. And it was like, all right. And I told people, and everyone was like, you're crazy. And I told my mom, and she was like, you don't do it. Go to New York, go to Atlanta. And everyone was like, go to Atlanta, go to New York. And I moved. And I remember I went to a birthday party, and I'm at this birthday party, and I'm just drinking. I'm having a good time. It's a good party. And you ever feel someone like kind of, you can feel eyes on you, right? You can feel eyes. And I'm just like, no way. It was the grandmother, the auntie from the house. And I looked at my phone.
Got chills.
I looked at it was the date that we said.
No.
I swear to God, I put that on I have chills too. I swear it's God.
Wow, that is God. And did you ever see her after? Wait, you spoke
Never
to
seen
her?
her again. I spoke to her that night, yes.
Yeah.
But she was a guardian angel or whatever.
It's giving come on, Denzel, Whitney.
Oh, preacher's wife or something?
It's giving preacher's wife. It's just like ding, ding, ding.
Like there's just
ding, 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 ding. You see those chimes are like
the chimes? Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That is amazing. That alignment is no joke. And like being on your path, being clear, listening to God and trusting God is no joke. That is so real. Wow. Now you had angels and you had these confirmations and these people that came, these happenstances, but you didn't have anyone before you that was in your immediate circle who had done what you're doing, right? And you've been able to build a career, and you're an amazing director, you have an amazing visual eye. I want to talk about though the sacrifice, right? And you talk about this. Let's talk about your film. Let's talk about what fatherhood. I want to get into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot. I feel like my directing eye comes from just my love of film. I've watched so many films, so many movies. Like even as a kid, I think when people were watching like Nickelodeon or like, like I missed all those kid shows. Like when people reference Guts or all these things, I'm like.
Did you like Degrassi though? I mean, I know it was on.
I wasn't. No,
you watched Degrassi?
I was watching like The Godfather and like Jaws, like Steven Spielberg. Like I was watching like Spike Lee films. Like as a kid, as a kid, like I was sneaking watching like rated like films by acclaimed directors.
I wish that I broke the rules and that I snuck those films, because there's some films admittedly people are like, Yha Mourhia, oh my gosh, you're a filmmaker, but it's true. Some films I'm still catching up on because like I grew up in a very Christian household. My parents said not to do it, and I was afraid to go to hell if I wasn't obedient. And obedience was better than sacrifice.
Right.
But then, like, I think about my sister, who's 6 years younger than me, and she's seen a bunch of films. She's like, "Oh, a Belly." I'm like, "How you ever seen Belly?" She's like,
"Parents got relaxed."
Yeah, she's like, "Well, my brother's 3 years older, so they were 9 years apart. So he would be watching it, she'd just be
and right next to him."
And I'm like, "We weren't supposed to." She's like, "Girl, they weren't even home."
Right. You like, Lord, you don't know how good you got it.
I don't know. But anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry, I digress.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So, I think I got a real good film education from that. And the way that I watched like behind the scenes and like back in the day, like, you know, DVDs and tapes, like they had featurettes and they had things where you could, you know, watch and get an education. You know what I mean? I love that. I love that shit.
Yeah, that was so good. I mean, so do they even?
Don't do that no more.
They don't do that anymore.
Don't do it no more. No.
Where do we even get it? I mean, we don't.
Gotta buy the old DVDs.
I know, but not for new films. I mean, if you follow them on Instagram, maybe you'll get some.
I mean, yeah, there's like podcasts and stories sometimes and stuff that people are like, you got to maybe read about it.
Yeah.
You know, like people will tell like firsthand accounts and stories, but like it's hard to find like like true behind the scenes.
You're right.
Now.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
That's not posted for content.
Right.
Right. A lot of people post BTS as content, but not like a truly. Like, let me tell you how we got this shot.
Yeah, because it was like there were documentaries encompassed within each of these big box office films. Yeah, you saw them in the studios. You saw them doing ADR. You saw them doing voiceover. All of it. You're right, the whole process. And so you were watching those.
So I was watching all that, and I think, you know, just like just the shots and the angles and stuff. Like I was always very interested in stuff like that. I'm like, man, how do they do that? How did they get it to go through the car and around and under? Like so. You know, I think not knowing that I was picking it up, I was picking it up. So just a lot of experimentation as a director with like a lot of the short films I did in the past were just like me trying stuff and seeing how it came out. And I'm still learning. I'm still trying. But yeah, to talk about the film, you know, I Don't Say Goodbye. It's a love letter to my daughter.
What in you do you think calls you to expressing, because we spoke and you said that you feel like a lot of your stories have to do with fatherhood or father-daughter relationships, is it fatherhood in general?
I think it's usually, just fatherhood in but general. Mostly father-daughter dynamics.
Yeah. Are you drawing purely from your own experience? Have you always just had a heart for that father relationship? What is that?
I don't think in the beginning it was something I did purposely. And I think, you know, it was just a trend that I noticed one day. I was just like, I was looking at like characters and thinking about all this stuff. I was like, man, like they all got there's this common thread, you know, like dads and stuff. Yeah. But I think speaking of the larger issue is that, you know, I just always want to pick projects and do projects and things that speak to me. You know what I mean? And I always want to leave a legacy or create or be a part of things that are bigger than me. That's going to be part of something that lives longer than me. That's more important to me. Because I have a lot of ego and I try to defeat that at times. You know what I mean? Because I could be very me. So I try to find things that are bigger than me, outside of me, to challenge myself, to work on those things.
Way to get ahead and use your art as an opportunity for growth. Like being like, I have a lot of ego. So how do I continue to use my art as an opportunity for me to evolve and grow, and it's to make the thing that's larger than you. Yeah,
I've never been to therapy, but art is been my therapy. Acting classes have been my therapy. Writing has been therapeutic.
Absolutely.
Creating has been therapy for me, because it's a way for me to. It's hard for me to open up and talk to other people, but you know, if I'm putting it on a page or I'm expressing it through a scene or expressing it through a character. You know what I mean? I don't know. It feels a little easier there. Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to You and I Don't Say Goodbye, which I'm so happy that you landed on the title. We were talking about it. I was like, this.
We went through a lot of titles. A lot of titles.
I think one point it was like Not Deuces. I'm just kidding. Whatever that, but like.
I went through a lot, so it could have been that. It could have been that.
But yeah, talk to me about this Tinder story. I got to see went to your Give Butter page, and I saw it functions as a trailer, but it's really a documentary, that clip you have of you and your daughter. I think it's comprised of a couple of visits, or was that one visit?
It's comprised of a couple of
visits. And it was that was so adorable and so special. Is that y'all's jam? Y'all like to documenting, or is that something you just kind of fell into?
It just kind of fell into it, because I think, you know, with at this new generation, they're documentarians.
Yeah, they are.
They're just everything is a documentary to them. They don't know it. They're just making short form documentaries, right? Everything is a story with the camera. And you know, I bought her an iPad and stuff. And I remember before her first visit to LA, I was like, yo, like kids don't have physical memory. Right? They have cell phones, they have iPads, but what happens if you have an iPhone, you lose it. It's not back to the cloud, right? How many stories have you heard from people? Man, I lost all my pictures, lost all my videos.
It's true.
Right? But my house, my mom has, photo collections and, VCR tapes and stuff. Like we will always have history and stuff of my childhood and like years. Like my mom would even sometimes, even when I got to LA, like make scrapbooks. You know what I mean? These weird like scrapbooks of me and like send them in the mail. I'm like, what is this? And it's just like my face on the front. Like she just taped it and sent it. You know, like, yo, ma, come on, man. But it's cute. It's nice. Like I appreciate it. But it's funny. My mama, she'll rig anything, man. She's great. So I was like, man, like I want her to have something like that. So I bought like this really old camera from our day that's physical media.
Yes.
And I was like, well, every time she comes here, I'm gonna record on old cameras, and I got disposable cameras so we could take like photos. And I just started doing that. And when I started working on the project, I wanted to shoot this project on 16 millimeter film. So I thought, that kind of matches the aesthetic, film and the older aesthetics. So I just decided to cut some of those scenes together and kind of make it like just like a little thing.
Yeah. Well, tell us about the story. Tell us more about You and I Don't Say Goodbye.
Yeah. So it's a short film that started as a love letter, actually an apology letter, that I wrote for my absence. And then I turned that apology letter into a TV show, which we shopped around town, and it was in development with a lot of studios, with different producers. Yeah, I was this close to having my own show in 2020. It's very, very close.
Wow.
But of course, this is Hollywood, and not all things are meant to be. So it fell apart, and I was kind of devastated and hurt, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I think once again, what I realized was ego had crept back in, and the original concept was a love letter to her, but the show became about me.
Ooh,
something that I wanted to star in, because I wanted to say that I had a show and I wanted to do all these things. And I just took a step back, and I had to just kind of realize that, and I was like, okay, I got to get back to what it was about. So I decided to then, make sure that if I was going to revisit this, like I knew what my North Star was, which was her, keeping her at the forefront of everything that we were doing with this project. So, as things would have it, we were in development for a while, and, several iterations, several titles. And eventually I was running out of time.
Why were you running out of time?
So I wanted to shoot it during the summer.
Okay.
While my daughter's out of school.
Okay. Was it the first time having her on set?
Yeah.
Okay. What was that like?
It was amazing. It was the best thing ever. It was just like, because like my mom had been trying to get her to be want to be an actress, and she's like, yo, I don't want to do that. She's a very independent girl. She knows what she wants. She knows what she doesn't want. And she's very particular about it. And she would let you know. She's like, I don't want to be an actress. I don't want to be in front of anyone's camera unless I'm doing my own YouTube channel.
I know that's right.
That's it. So I bribed her.
What'd you bribe her with?
Disney World. I said, look, take you to Disney. We filmed this.
Well, you paid her, essentially.
I paid her, essentially. I said, look, we're going to go to Disney. And she was like, all right, Dad. I get all right. So, we got her on set, and I mean, she was a natural.
Wow.
Yeah. Like aside from like, kids don't understand how long a day is. So aside from like, when is this going to be over? Like, we're still doing this, or we got to do it again and again and again. And this time I'm not saying a lot. Like it was just for her, it was a learning experience. She's like, I don't know what this is. I'm having fun, but so it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Did you practice her lines with her? You rehearsed with her?
So when people aren't gonna really, well, you'll see it when you see it, but like a lot of it was improv.
Wow.
A lot of the film we improv'd a lot. And I wanted to keep it that way, to keep everyone natural, keep everyone, to keep it. I wanted it to feel real. That was my thing, because my last film, Circuit, was very much a production, right? With colors and, you know, camera angles and stuff. Like, you could tell, like,
I was watching it a little bit more today from the link you sent me. And I was like, man, this film is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But it's a production.
It's a production. It's very cinematic and it's very, like, intentional, like, with the paintings and, like, everything we did was, like, a very, like, this was more, I wanted to feel like a fly on the wall, right? Almost like the camera's not there. Like, you're just watching people, you're observing people living just their lives, right? The camera's just there, and it's just like you're just watching people having a conversation. That's kind of how I wanted to feel. So I stripped away a lot of the stuff, and I wanted to feel, you know, very cinema verte. Yeah. So
was that a moment for you having your daughter on set where it felt like was it like everything just kind of made sense? Like, how could you describe that experience? How would you describe that experience? Because you made sacrifices, you're here, and then she's here with you in your element, like seeing you work.
There's a level of joy that I just can't really describe. Like, I was just beaming. I was just beaming the whole time, because to me, that, like, that's special. You know what I mean? Like, when she doesn't understand how cool it is right now, right? Or she doesn't really, but when she sees it, when we have like a premiere in Charlotte, or maybe she comes here for the premiere or whatever, and she's like sitting down in the theater and she sees it on the screen and she's looking at like her friends and stuff, and she's like, whoa, like, this feels like a YouTube channel. She's gonna be like, this is actually my YouTube channel that I asked for. I'm like, yeah, it is, you know, this is in a different medium, and this is the thing, you know what I mean? And like, you know, and for years to come to have that, and that's something that we did together is, you know, while here in LA, like, while I'm, you know what I mean? Because I'm making a sacrifice to be out here and all the things. So it's, I can't really.
Yeah. Wow, it's beautiful. Talk to us about the title. So you landed on the title. You have a Give Butter page. I want to know more about the title and about how people can support you throughout post-production, inclusive of film festivals, y'all, because it's expensive.
It's expensive. So the title, the original title, one of the titles was like Distance. One of the titles was My Sweet Sweet Child.
That's the one that you had told me about.
Yeah, so that was the title for the longest time, My Sweet Sweet Child, which I loved, really did. But for some reason, I don't know, it just always felt like a gospel song. Like, I didn't want to be, you know what I mean? My Sweet Sweet Child, I don't know, Swing Low Sweet Chariot or something. I don't know. Just,
it's a little comfy.
It gave me gospel vibes or something, though, which is not a problem. I just was like, it doesn't really, I don't know if that's really the vibe I want to give. So I was reflecting one day, and I remember something that my grandmother said. Whenever I would speak to my grandma Ruth, she would always say, so long. So long. She would always say, she never said goodbye. She would say, so long, so long. And so one day, I was maybe like 8 years old. I'm like, Grandma, why don't you say bye? And she was just like, you and I, we don't say goodbye.
Oh.
We don't say goodbye.
There it is.
We say so long, because I'll see you again. I'll see you again. Goodbye is final. And it hit me, and I was like, damn, that's a bar. First of all, that's what I said. I was like, that's a bar. But then I was like, and that's a title. Yeah, and that's a title.
Wow. Where are you in the process? This episode will air circa the very end of the year and the very beginning of next year. Will be, in the next 2 weeks. So where will you be in the process? How can people continue to support you?
So in the process, hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll have a draft completed, and we'll be working hopefully on like color and sound, and working towards festival submissions, because we do want to either premiere at the American Black Film Festival in Miami in June, which their festival is on Father's Day this year.
Whew.
So that would be amazing for us to debut on Father's Day, for us to debut in, with the HBO Shorts Awards they do. And I think that could be great. A bunch of people, we can all go down to Miami and watch it together, and for a very special Father's Day, that's, that would be special. So, if people want to support, they can always reach out to me. The Give Butter may still be up, or they can reach out via Cash App or Venmo, or
let them know,
a check, or however. You hit me up. I gave you the socials.
He's a Cash App.
Armie_strong.
Venmo.
Zelle. Even just sharing the page, liking the page, following the page is more than enough support. So yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. What is your purpose?
My purpose is to is to create something bigger than me. Mm-hmm. I think I said it already, but like that's truly, I think the thing that keeps me going is I really want to leave. And I know a lot of people say that, and I feel like, you know, I try to make choices so it's not lip service. Mm-hmm. Or I try to make choices that will lead me to be the man or the person that I say I want to be. Mm-hmm. Right? I do things that try to, like, that's how I kind of live my life. It's like, okay, will this make me closer to the thing I want to be or further away? Mm-hmm. So that's how I always try to live my life. Like, I want to impact the world in a positive way, and want people to say, like, yo, Armie, your film inspired me, or it helped me, or, you know what I mean? Like, making film to entertain and stuff like that is cool. It's part of the job. I'm gonna do that regardless. But I also want them to have, like, I want people to feel like, you know, happier, lighter. The world is better. There is hope. You know what I mean? All the things, like,
you want them to feel a lot of ways I hear seen, right?
Seen,
and I know that
heard.
phrase is thrown around, but like really validated. You know what I mean? I was listening to something. This is just had to have been yesterday. It doesn't matter. It does. I was watching Tyler Perry's a little bit of the documentary. I haven't finished it yet. But I was watching it, and I was just like, there was a portion of it where he was just talking about, and they were talking about in the documentary about him knowing his audience and the Black church audience and the plays. And this guy, I don't remember his name, but he was saying that he's on Tyler Perry's team, but he was saying that he had taken his mom to see Broadway plays, etc. And have you seen it yet?
No, not yet.
It's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, the storytelling of the documentary itself is gorgeous.
Right.
It is a well crafted, and I use that word very specifically, crafted documentary. I think you'll really appreciate it. Just the storytelling alone. But in any case, you do have I think an open heart and a vulnerability towards Black women. What is that you think really gives you that? Because there are men who try and they miss. But I haven't seen you miss, and I feel like you're very intentional on that, and there's something that you get.
I will say I think that I have a privilege of being raised by a single mom, 2 grandmas. My mom has 7 sisters.
Wow.
Host of nieces, cousins, you know, and so I think I was just raised around a lot of women, because I get into these arguments with a lot of my friends who were raised a lot of male. Like we're constantly at odds, right? In our conversations, in our arguments, right? And the biggest thing they love to throw at me, well, you didn't have a father, and I'm like, it's not a bad thing. Like I had male, like I grew up in the Amazon. Right, I mean not the Amazon, but like you know what I mean, like the women Amazon, like I grew up in Woman King or something, like there were no men there at all. Like I had no coaches or no male influences in my whole life. You know what I mean? I'm like I had plenty of male role models and influences and friends, but I think also, you know, going back to it, like being raised around a lot of women, is I think I'm just a bit closer to the plight. And I just have a bit more understanding maybe than most men. Maybe that's why they miss, because they're trying to have the understanding, but you only know what you know, or your breadth of experience can only give you, you know, your experience, right? Your perception is the breadth of your experience. So, you know, I'm able to just channel into that, I think, and tap into that a little deeper than some men can, where they see it as a weakness. To me, I'm like, it's a superpower.
They see what is a weakness?
That I understand the plight of women a bit more, right? And I'm like, that's a good thing, because there's a lot of male toxic traits that I don't have. There's a lot that I do. I'm not gonna upsay myself or act like I'm some saint up here, right? But I think, you know, there's some things that I'm a bit more I can see a little better. Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say this, or maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe I, you know, can try to help them in this way, or do that, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch my short films, you notice I have a lot of very dark-skinned Black women as my leads. You'll see there's always light-skinned women in most movies. Not to say that I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's part of what I want to do is help black dark-skinned women be at the forefront. That's the women in my family look like for the most part. Or even hiring women like even Kalila Robinson, who's the DP of I Don't Get Say Bye. Woman camera. Ashley Sayers was our loader. Like, I've worked with Lauren Harrell. I've worked with Sade, who was my co-writer. And just like so many women I've had as producers, Amaka, Janae David. Like, I'm constantly bringing in women to be a part of the team. Like even Claudia Costello, she edited Black Panther and Creed.
Yeah, you told me, yeah.
And she edited my film. You know what I mean?
Circuit,
like
right?
Circuit, yeah. So like it's just a big part of what I do. Just like the tenderness and the care of a maternal figure. You know what I mean? Just I've had that, so I know how to put that. It's in me. I just can't. That's just I guess at the core of it, it's just in me.
What do you hope to teach, either by your actions or how you show up to space? What do you hope to teach other men, your age group, and then those younger about how to show up for women, show up for Black women?
I just hope to teach that, it's okay to listen and to not think that you know everything about everything. You know what I mean? If you could take the way you feel about how white people make you feel unseen or whatever, apply that to how men make women feel. And then double on the fact that they're Black women. So they get the Black and they get the male. So they get it twice. Be a little sensitive to that. So that's what it is.
Hurt, heal, joy. What is currently hurting you? What do you want to heal? And what brings you joy? We've kind of talked about it, but we want to like pinpoint. And maybe it's a couple things. Maybe it's many. Hurt, heal, joy.
What's hurting me is definitely not like the time that I'm missing with my child. Definitely hurts me. It's the biggest thing that hurts me. It's my biggest ache. Holidays. There's just special moments that sometimes I'm just not able to be there for. And that's whack. But, I made this choice to do this, which, some could call it selfish. Some say it's about me. I'm doing it because I also want to provide for my family something bigger. If I'm a millionaire, bajillionaire, I can move, I could buy things, I could do, so yeah, that hurts. Hurts a lot. What's healing me?
Or what do you want to heal? Either or.
I want to heal the little boy in me that felt like he wasn't a winner. I feel like as a kid, there was a lot of things that I was always in second place or third place. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of times where I was in first place, and it became a moment where I was like, man, maybe I just not meant to win. And I felt like that for a while. And I think that's why I go so hard on things, because I'm like, no, like I'm gonna change that. Right? I'm gonna be, yeah. So, it still bothers me, I guess, from sometimes.
Yeah. I can understand that. I can understand that. What brings you joy?
What brings me joy? What brings me joy right now is my relationship that I have with my parents. That brings me joy. I talk to my mom and dad mostly every day now.
Wow.
And, there was this feeling I had that I didn't want to talk to them for a while when I was on my journey and coming out here, because I felt like they weren't proud of me. Right. And I felt like I was like, okay, I can't talk to them until I'm able to buy them the house and, retire them and give them so they don't have to work as hard. It was a time where I just didn't talk to them. I didn't call them. I didn't answer their calls and stuff. And I felt like, and I had to get over that and realize that, they're fine.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen when it's going to happen. And because if something were to happen and, I'm like, I hadn't talked to him, that would, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think I think that will resonate with a lot of people, creatives, entrepreneurs, and just people who are trying to figure it out. We do, and I can speak to my experience sometimes. I'm just so focused on like the goal that like my family's calling me and I'm kind of like, hey, yeah, okay, bye. Like not really connecting with them because it feels in my head and even maybe in my world, right? In my creative world, like there's just something that we need to accomplish to almost deserve that. But what you're saying to me that really, speaks to me and resonates with me is that like just your pure existence here on earth with them is enough to connect. You don't have to deserve or earn that love or that connection with your family, with your loved one, with your parents, Right. So that's really powerful. It's really powerful. This has been an amazing, amazing time. Yes. Thank you so much for joining me as my second guest on Inside Out Podcast, y'all. Woo woo, we back. So much. I'm gonna let you get into those monologues as you wish. I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy it. Please take them to the camera, take them wherever you like. This is your world. This is your stage.
Give me a sec. I have to prepare. Now, you say you don't want to tell me how to live my life. So what do you think you've been doing? You don't own me. I don't care if you carried that bag a million miles. You did what you were supposed to do because you brought me into this world. But you don't owe me. I don't owe you anything. From that day on, you owe me everything you could ever do for me. Like I will owe my son if I ever have another. But you don't own me. You can't tell me when I'm out of line or how to live my life. Dad, you don't even know who I am. You don't know what I am. You don't know how I feel, how I think. And if I tried to explain it to you for the rest of your life, you would never understand it because you are 30 years older than I am. And you and your whole lousy generation, y'all believe that the way it was for you is the way it's got to be. And not until your entire generation has laid down and died with a dead weight of you be off my back. Do you understand? You have to get off of my back.
That made me miss acting. Yeah. That was amazing. Where's that from?
That's from Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Excellent.
Wow. That's a heavy one.
Yeah.
So I want to get that one out of the way first. So I can get into the lighter one.
Yeah.
So I can calm down. Take a sip. Did I ever tell you about Mr. Jenkins? So Mr. Jenkins was my favorite teddy bear growing up, right? And he always wore this tartan smart bow tie, and he had this really shiny coat of fur, right? And he would always tell me about how he wanted to work at the Bank for Bears and just, plant his petunias because he could talk. Not really talk, it was just this voice that my mom would do. And she gave him like this proper English accent. And he talked in this hurried, like hush-like voice, right? That was until she killed him. You see, a couple weeks before my 7th birthday, I accidentally left the garden gate open and our dog Samson escaped. So my mom spent the whole day looking for him. And when she came back home with the dog, she came up to my room alone. And I said, "Where's Mr. Jenkins, Mom?" And she said, "Oh, honey, Mr. Jenkins, he's an old bear. And the day caused his heart to give out. He couldn't take it." And she laid him on my bed, on my pillow, right next to me, kind of like the horse's head from The Godfather. And, he looked a little different. He was lifeless. And it was my first experience with death. She never said it, but I knew it was my fault. And I never left the garden gate open again. See.
And that's from?
I actually don't know the name of that.
Okay, I like it. That was excellent. Oh my gosh, y'all. This has been another episode of Inside Out Podcast featuring Armie Hicks Jr. Armie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much for your generosity, for your vulnerability, for your strength, and for you just being an inspiration. Like, this episode is bomb.com.
Thank you.
I think I just aged myself. The bomb.com.
Bomb.com, yeah.
It is brick wall.
We taking it back.
Brick wall.
Right there.
Y'all can support Inside Out Podcast by, of course, following Inside Out Podcast on Instagram. I'll put it right here below. Of course, also, if you want some Inside Out Podcast swag like these here mugs, plus you can shop Inside Out Podcast store or subscribe to the Patreon, where everybody will get a new swag bag every 3 months if you subscribe to my Patreon. Inside, yeah, right. Right, it's only $15.99 per month to help keep Inside Out Podcast running, and you get some swag every 3 months. So thank you all for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Deuces. What's up, y'all? Wait. Before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for joining me on this journey. This has been another episode of Inside Out Podcast Season 2. If you like what you see, please remember to subscribe to Yha Mourhia Productions on YouTube so that you can be in the know every time a new episode drops. If you prefer to listen to Inside Out Podcasts, be sure to follow and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music. Last but not least, if you want to help me keep this podcast going, please join the Patreon community as a member for only $15 per month. And as a special token of my gratitude for all who keep this podcast going, I will send you a quarterly swag bag full of products from the Inside Out Podcast store, y'all. That's right. Thank you so much again. Stay tuned. Be blessed. Bye.
Whoa.